this is one of those things to where, this is going to be like a test run. This right here is going to be like a test run. And if this goes good, if y'all show me that y'all like this type of teaching, if y'all show me that y'all like this type of thing, then I got so many more lessons to teach y'all using this. Um, one thing one thing that I'm realizing when it comes to this life that we're in. Um, every time I get a new job, every time I get put in a new situation, I'm in a new type of environment or whatever. Especially when it comes to a new job. Every time I get a new job, um, and it's in line in some type of way with my path, I can always extract spiritual things from every single job um, that I've had. You know, um, it's just a thing to where you start going to different jobs, and and you're going to these different jobs for the same reason, and it gets to the point where it's like you're learning the same lesson. Each job, you're learning the same lesson if you're not doing stuff that's relative to your path. Now, once you get on your path, everything that you do at that point, when you become conscious of who you are, and you start really getting on that path, you start really uh, um, having that desire. That's the word. You really start having that desire, to walk a certain path and stuff like that. It gets to the point where it's like everything that you do, um, you can extract some type of spiritual thing from it. And so I'm over here on Instagram. Just got finished, um, uh, you know, taking care of my altars and stuff like that. Been having some really dope channels and stuff like that. Um, and then I run across this video, and it talks about the mirror principle. And so, as you all know, I'm in the process right now of finishing up this episode of Eshu's World, and actually, this particular, this particular presentation is going to have a lot to do with that, because I'm gonna take y'all behind the scenes yet again, um, on my episode that I'm working on, because I want to show you that. Um, hold on. Oh yeah, let me go ahead and exit out of all of this stuff so my phone won't overheat. So give me a second, because I'm doing all this on my phone right now. I don't want nothing to mess this up. I didn't realize I had all this stuff open. Give me a second. Okay. So nothing should be on. Um Give me a second. All right. Okay, so we back. Let me know. Put a one in the chat. Let me know I'm good with audio, because I'm about to keep going. All right. So, um, so I got it. I started watching this video, and I started seeing how a lot of, well, I'm gonna start with this. There's a lot of things that we've been taught in this country. I'm doing this on the phone, so forgive me if I'm a little slow. But different things in this conscious community that can really, really help you if you just understood how to make it work for you. And I think, being this baby Eshu energy that is inside of me, this is something that my inner child um, always had a issue when it came to the authority figures in my life. Especially when it came to like working jobs and stuff like that, because it only takes me one time. It only takes me one time to be in a situation to where um I'm doing this senseless hard labor, and I'm gonna get to a point where I'm gonna be like, yo, there's gotta be an easier way to do this. There's gotta be an easier way to teach this. There's gotta be an easier way to do this, because um the way is being put in front of you, the generation of people that's coming after us, um they may not be able to retain information the same way, you know so it's getting to a point where a lot of us, who grew up listening to Bobby Hemmett, we grew up listening to Bobby Hemmett, we grew up listening to Brother Panic, we grew up listening to Jewel Pookrum and Joy DeGrew, and we grew up listening to people like Delbert Blair and all of these different scholars. We grew up listening to these scholars, and you know, and we had a very, we kind of had a very limited, um, we had a very limited scope when it came to actually researching and going back and really trying to um, fact check and really trying to um, extend the research that they were doing. We were just going and listening to a lot of the things that they did, and then we would go and you know apply it. You had a lot of us in our community would use that as intellectual masturbation. That's a term now. You got a lot of people out here that know a lot of knowledge, but just because they know a lot of knowledge, because they were sitting at the foot of these scholars, it doesn't mean that everybody knows how to apply everything that they learned. Maybe it's a situation to where you would never be in the predicament that Bobby Hemmett was in, to where he just had to learn that information. You know, it can be just as simple as that. Um, so so when it comes to this um, mirror principle, I know that you all have heard about this before, all of my adepts. But for some people out here who don't know what the mirror principle is, there's this video that I want to show. Um, Let me see her name, and I just had this. Her name is Art Sky, if I'm not mistaken. I got her YouTube channel on my screenshot. I thought I did. So let me see, cause I wanna make sure that I get this sister's information put on here. So let me make sure that I put that before we get started, because I like giving people their credit. Also, um, let's see, I'm doing all this on this little small screen. Cosmic Amy, or Cosmic ARY. That's her name. So Cosmic ARY. Cosmic ARY. That's her name. And also, so you got Cosmic ARY on Instagram, and then I also want to give a shout out to the Gray Night Sky on Instagram, because the gray night sky on Instagram is where I got this beautiful thumbnail from. So when we're using people's artwork and different things, I want to give people their credit because this is a very beautiful artwork. This is Oshun, and this shows how her mirror represents a portal to get to her world. You know, um, we're gonna be talking about the baby Oshun a lot in Eshu's world. Actually, what this episode, is gonna be about some things that the baby Oshun did in Eshu's world. You know, um, different things about these particular energies that are in all of us that make up who we are. Um, so I wanted to go ahead and make sure that I gave him credit. So for those who don't know about this particular principle, it's called the mirror principle. This is a part of the video from Cosmic ARY that I saw on Instagram, and I wanna talk about this in my own way. So first, let's see what she has to say about this mirror principle.
The metaphysical principle that will change your life, the mirror principle. The mirror principle tells us that reality is like a mirror. You have an image and you have a reflection. The image is your mind and the reflection is your life. Your mind is creating your reality. Now, like in a mirror, if I want to change the reflection, I cannot change it within the reflection. I need to change the image first. In life is the same. If you want to change your conditions, what you have to change is what's creating them, which is your mind. Trying to change your life without changing your mind first, it's like looking at yourself in the mirror and seeing that you have a stain on your face and cleaning the mirror. And the image doesn't change. And you clean the mirror and the image doesn't change. You have to change your face first, and then what you're seeing in the mirror will change. Maybe you know.
All right, all right, all right. All right, all right, all right. Did y'all hear that? Was that was y'all able to hear that? Was that was that uh um legible, or I don't know how to say it as far as with the audio, but let me know if y'all was able to hear that. That is Cosmic Ari, and she's breaking down. This is Cosmic Ari, and she's breaking down the mirror principle. Very, very simple, but then it's also very complicated. Um, unless you have a method to be able to apply this to your life, and I'm gonna show you a specific method. Virgo Moon, Virgo Moon, Virgo Ascended. I'm gonna show you a specific method, and you can use this specific method to change fated events in your reality. And I kind of talked about this on my birthday when I was talking about programming your reality. Before you go to bed, because this starts. This is it's two ways that this can start. This can either start when you're on the way to bed, or this can start in your meditation. So very important. Let me. Okay. I want to turn this light off. All right. So y'all got it. So y'all heard that. All right. So this is very important. Understanding about your life, how your mind is a um, your mind is the projector. and the life that you're living is the projection. Now, you've heard this in the conscious community a lot, in the spiritual community a lot. Um, but and this is how I gauge my spiritual teachers. You know, to be able to show that you truly know something, that you truly learned a specific skill or a specific term or something like that. Um, I always challenge my spiritual teachers. Um, there should be a way to where you can show how this principle is working for you in whatever job that you're working in. Because everything is everything, this means that some of the most potent universal principles, when you're on your path and you're doing what you're supposed to do, and you're on the path that you're supposed to be on because of who you are and the god or goddess that you represent, you should be able to go down the line of these different spiritual principles, and you should be able to make these dissertations and make these lectures teaching people about how these particular principles are working in your life, or how to make this principle work for you. Because see, the thing about it is, the principle is the foundation, and then how to make it work for you, that can be tweaked, and that can be catered to any person. And then that's where the business part comes in. And I know this, when it comes to my job as a cook. you know it's like when you're conscious and then you have certain jobs and stuff like that. It gets to a point to where you're able to, it's like you look at things different. It's like, since I've been a cook at this place for so long now, when I go in restaurants, I'm looking, instead of me like, dang, this food in this restaurant tastes so good, I want to keep coming back to this restaurant so I can keep getting this food. That's how my mind thought before I was conscious. But now, since I'm conscious, I'm on this path, and then I start, see, first I was conscious and on this path, and then I went to that restaurant and I was like, man, you know, uh, uh, look at how they gotta raise the prices on this food. Because of how the government is raising the prices of food and all this type of stuff, and now these mom and pop restaurants, they gotta raise their prices, and their prices are always gonna be more expensive than the chain restaurants, because they're not tapped into the same resources that the chain restaurants have to keep their stuff at a low margin. You know, so now, because of this job that I have as a cook, now I'm going into these restaurants, and I'm kind of looking back into the kitchen, and I'm seeing like, oh, that's the brand of barbecue sauce they use. Oh, that's the brand of seasoning that they use. Oh, they use the same seasoning uh that this gas station use for their chicken. Oh, they use the same. And then now I'm working in a industrial, in a way. I'm working in a commercial type of kitchen, working here and working at the arena, the different arenas around Florida. Um Now I'm starting to see like, oh, this is where they get their meat from. They get their meat from here. I can buy this at this place for cheaper. So now it's getting to the point where it's like, you know, uh, uh, you know, me giving my money to this restaurant, um, it's just out of love for the people. Because if I really want this type of food, I know where you got your seasonings at. I know where you got your meat from. I know where you got your sauce from. I know where you got your seasons from. I know where you got all of that from. So I can really make it myself But so it puts you in that type of mind frame. At least with me, it puts me in that type of mind frame. So I'm working on this animation, and I'm watching this video, and I'm wondering, like, okay, now, um, how can I truly explain uh this principle, you know? And the best way that um that I kind of I got this channel message to break it down by fate and destiny. And I wish I had a way to write this down or whatever. But where you see mind, where it says mind, um all of that behind the mind part, that's where fate, that's where you decide your fate. And then on the life part, where you see life, the R, the life, the reflection, that represents your destiny. So then I got this message. This was like a great mother type of entity, because I was like, oh. so so when it comes to this mind, um, you can alter, because you have mind altering. In the mental On the mental side of things, that's when you can alter your fate. That's where you can alter your fate. Um, and you do this in two ways. You do it in the dream realm, or you can do it in the meditation realm while you're awake. Because both of these realms, both of these things has to do with death. It has to do with going in between this world and the spiritual world, or the mental world, or the quantum world. So this mind, has everything. And when we talk about fate, that ain't really nothing to be scared of, because it is a principle. It is at the end of the day, it's one of those type of things. It's like the moral of the story. That's what the fate, that's what that entails. Now, how you get there, that's your destiny. And you go through life, and and that's how you find your destiny. I always talk about how life is what initiates you. You don't necessarily have to go to somebody to initiate you. As soon as you say out of your mouth who you are, life itself will initiate you, and life itself will tell you if that's not who you are. That's how it works. So when it comes to your destiny, that deals with everything that's in front of you, that you can see, everything that's in front of you. It's lights, camera, action once you open your eyes up. And everything that's fated to happen, once you open your eyes up, everything that's fated to happen is gonna happen, because in the dimension that you're currently in, you can't change it. You can't change it. The only way that you can change it is either in the dream realm, which I'm going to show you. And what I'm showing you in the dream realm, this can also take part in the meditation realm. It's just a little bit harder. It's just a little bit harder. It all depends on the environment that you're in. If you got the right resources and tools around you, you can also make this happen. So you can, so in my meditation, spirit was like, you can change both. You can change your fate and your destiny. It's just not, it's like we chose certain things for a reason. We may not understand it right now, but we chose certain things for a reason. There's a certain experience that you came down here to achieve, you know? And the last thing that the universe wants you to do is to come down here and find out that you can change things, you know, but you don't understand why in the first place that that you created your life to be like this. So you never get the understanding that you're supposed to get. And that's the true reason why the Heavenly Father, um that's the reason why, you know, the Heavenly Father don't want to just tell you all willy-nilly that you can change it. You know, it's something that you have to learn on your own, because once you learn it on your own and you start using it, now you on your own. Because you're on your own, because now you're, it's a responsibility that you now have, you know, because you know. So I want to go into this for a second, because we have these 3 different levels that she talks about. So the level at the bottom is the 3D. So the level that you see at the bottom, that's the 3D. And that's the level that you see when you open your eyes up in the morning. You know, when you open your eyes up in the morning, the reason why you say amen is because it's like, once you open your eyes up, you know, it's like you are giving thanks in advance for this day that you created. You know, you're giving thanks to all the cast and crew in the background that you no longer see now, because you're actually in the movie. You're actually playing in the movie. You're actually doing it. So when you're playing in the movie and you're acting the part, you're not going to see the production crew in the background. You know, you're not going to see the lighting guy. You know, you're not going to see all the different stuff, because it's going to take you out of the experience. You know, it's a reason it's a reason why, you know, it's a reason why some of us have access to see more behind the veil than others. You know, some of us, we put in our soul contract that I don't want to know. Like, once I get on that side and I open my eyes up and I'm in this earthly body, I don't want to know that y'all exist, because if I know that y'all exist, I know me. You know, I know I'm gonna do this and this and this, and it's gonna take me out of it, and I'm not gonna get the experience, and I'm gonna have to reincarnate, and I don't want to reincarnate here, so I want to get it right. So in the quantum realm, in the realm of the mother, there's so many different reasons. If you could speak with your quantum self while you're, you know, going about this life, your quantum self is going to give you so many different reasons why you need to go through what you're going through. You know, your quantum self, if you could speak to him or her, they're going to give you all of these different reasons of why you need to do it, why you need to go through it. Because at the end of the day, now, this is when you're conscious. Now, when you become conscious, you start to understand that, okay, this particular path for me to get what I'm trying to get, you know, this particular path is gonna take too much out of me, when there's another path right here that can get me there in faster time. There's another path. So when you see that QF all the way at the top, In this picture, you see the QF, the QF, that talks about, that's the quantum. So these are all the different possibilities, all the different fates. Now, what you don't realize, the reason why, and this is something that the powers that be are trying to cheat this, but you can't cheat it. You can't cheat it. You can't cheat fate. You know, you can't, it's like you can change different things, but once you change it, your fate is going to be slightly different. It's going to be something else. And you're going to be a totally different person. You're going to be a totally different being after you go through this experience, because you changed your fate. You know, the powers that be, they're trying to use this particular principle, and they're trying to change different things, and they're trying to keep the same fate. They're trying to change their destiny, and then they want to keep the same fate, you know, or it's actually different. They're trying to change their fate, but they don't want to change the particular path, because they understand that the path that they're trying to take is not really the path that's meant for them. That's why they keep having to do this, and they gotta keep going here, and they gotta do this conniving thing, and they gotta do this over here, and all this kind of stuff, because they're trying to force something that's universally not supposed to be. So once you decide it, you decide your fate. You decide your fate from the quantum realm. You decide your fate from the quantum realm, and then because of everything that's in your subconscious mind, so that's in the middle. You know, that's what you see in the middle. You know, that's your subconscious mind. So your subconscious mind is all the reasons why you chose this path from your quantum mind, you know, and all the reasons why, you know, due to different ways you grew up, you know, different things that you might have didn't learn as a child and you want to learn it now, or, you know, there's different reasons on the quantum level why you want to learn certain skills. You know, it's just like, why do you want to go to college? You know, Earth is a school. So why do you want to go to college? I want to go to college so I can learn how to be a doctor. You know, now the messed up part about it is, when you're going to college to be the doctor, you got to take all of these remedial classes along with the classes that you need to take in order to be the doctor. You know, and you know, you can go and you know, try to shave some classes off, try to shave certain things off, and try to do this, but what that school is going to tell you, like, yo, some of these remedial classes, you actually need some of these classes. You know, you actually need some of this stuff, and you may not understand why you need it right now, but you're gonna understand it once you get to the end. So, you know, that's kind of a synopsis of it, but I want her to give the synopsis about the quantum field a little bit more before I go into my example. So,
the metaphysical principle that will change your life, the mirror principle. The mirror principle tells of the mirror that then you experience as your life. And then we have the quantum field of possibilities. This is the field of infinite possibilities where all versions of reality exist at the same time as potential. This is potential to be tuned into. The version of you where you're happy, the version of you where you are rich, the version of you where you are broke. All of the versions of your life exist at the same time in the quantum field as potential, meaning as wave. Now, the version of your life that you get to perceive in your third dimension is the version of the quantum that you are collapsing into particle. Think of all versions of reality existing at the same time like a radio, and you're tuning into one version of this field and you are collapsing it into your life. This doesn't mean that all other options aren't available for you. So if you are, let's say, broke right now, this is not your fate. This is simply the version of the quantum you're tuning into. You can simply change what you tune into by changing your mind. Now, like I said, your thoughts, which create your reality, are mainly unconscious and they come from your core beliefs. Your core beliefs are certain thoughts that you absorbed and selected as truth, and they remained programmed in your subconscious mind, and they are guiding your life. This is why Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will guide your life and you will call it fate. These core beliefs were mainly absorbed in childhood from 0 to about 9 years old, when you're...
All right. So I wanted to let that play a little bit because I wanted her to explain it. Let me let it play a little bit more.
Brain was like a sponge, absorbing everything it saw and perceived and experienced. This is why we repeat so much our parents' stories. If our parents had a toxic dynamic, most likely we end up in dynamics that are toxic. If our parents used to repeat to us that we don't have enough money or that money doesn't grow on trees, then that becomes a core belief. And these core beliefs determine my thoughts, and my thoughts tune me into a version of the quantum where money is hard to make, and then that's what I end up experiencing in my reality.
All right. What up, IFE? Shoot, I was trying to let you know I was live. We over here talking about the mirror principle and how you can use this mirror principle to alter the fate of certain events in your reality. I'm going to put it like that. Because this is a very, it's very complex, but I'm gonna break it down in a very simple way of looking at it. So we're gonna do this mirror principle together. We're gonna do it together. We starting out. So this right here represents a quantum reality. What you see in front of you represents a quantum reality that has been compressed into a symbol which represents a moment in time in the quantum, because somebody took this image from their quantum mind, and then they used a method, a path. They used a destined method in order to make what they saw, what they perceived in the quantum reality. They used a method to where they brought it to the 3D. Because even though this is a 2D image that you see, this particular image, it represents a quantum reality. So I'm just gonna use my animated episode of Eshu's World as a way to explain this. But you can take this right here and you can put this to whatever event in your life that's keeping you up at night. So let's just say tomorrow the rent is due. Let's just say it like that. Let's be real. Let's say tomorrow the rent is due. I don't got the money to pay it. I've been doing everything I can in order to pay it. But I'm just short. You know, I'm just short. So I need to do some magic. I need to do some magic so that way I can have a place to stay. And I've done this. I've done this so many times, you know, till it got to the point to where spirit was like, all right, you know, all right, nigga, it's time for you to move. You know, we about to stop. We about to stop helping you in this situation. Now it's time for you to move. So now you go to your altar. So you looking at your altar, you know, you writing your petition. You writing your petition, you know, everything that you need. I need my rent paid. I need some clothes. You know, I need some shoes. Like I need all of this stuff. So you write it on your petition because in that quantum reality, in that quantum reality where Oshun lives at, you know, and there's a quantum reality in all of our minds. When you close your eyes and you go into dreamland, you go into daydream world, you have a quantum reality, and you have a version of this in your quantum reality that you can connect to. So there's a in Eshu's world, you know, the baby Oshun, she's always learning these different principles about who she is and about love and about service and, you know, about you know, being able to blossom and learn what it is to be a in that divine feminine without all of these boundaries and stuff like that, you know. So, you know, this is part of the reason why in these adventures, when you see the baby Oshun doing stuff, you know, the baby Eshu, he isn't really going to intervene or tell her stop doing that or don't do that. Like, you know, you're not gonna see that too much, because since she's in her innocence, anything that she does in Eshu's world is gonna work out. Like, it's gonna be beautiful because she's doing it with a innocent intention, you know. So there's a certain principle that I want to be able to teach people, and I want to use this adventure that is going on in my quantum quantum mind. The baby Oshun, the baby Eshu, the baby Orishas, they always going through some type of adventure in my head. All I got to do is just daydream and just tune in. You know, all I got to do is just tune in, just go into daydream mode, you know, and just look up at the clouds or do whatever I need to do. Just tune in, and I'm always laughing, you know, and I'm like, yo, I need to figure out a way to be able to, because the stuff I'm watching on TV is ass. Like, I don't like a lot of the stuff a lot of the cartoons that I'm watching on TV, the new ones, you know, they're not, you know, they're not, see, back in the day, the cartoons, they used to give some type of motivating message at the end. You know, they give some type of message. But these cartoons nowadays, they don't do that. So on my episodes, I always wanted to be some type of motivating message, some type of moral message that you can learn at the end of the episode, you know, to bring everything together. I feel like that's is good for the soul. So you're in this mode. So your subconscious mind is what brings you down to earth. Your subconscious mind, you thinking about, okay, how is this gonna happen? You know? And for some people, they have such a pessimistic attitude when it comes to different things that they're going through, because, you know, when you're in it, it's hard for you not to. So some of us, we have such a pessimistic attitude about stuff. We only see things going one way. If you got that type of attitude, this particular principle isn't really going to work for you, because it's like you've been brainwashed by what you've been going through so much to the point where you can't see where it can get better. So right now, I'm only talking to people who still got hope, who still got faith. I'm talking to people right now who still believe that their situation can change. And they have a very strong belief that their situation can change. That's the only way that this is going to work for you. You know, you got to have a strong faith and a strong belief that your situation can change. You know, because if not, you know, mother knows. You know, mother knows. See, you can fool the father. You can fool the father, but you can't fool the mother. You know, because it's like the mother sees you when you're naked. You know, the mother sees you when you're naked. The father, you know, if you dress up right in front of the father and you give your 110%, the father would never really know that you got some deep issues that's going on with you or whatever. But the mother, you know, you're not gonna be able to, you know, that's what makes people go crazy, you know. And they look good on the outside. They look like, you know, always check up on your happy friend. You know, IFE. Remember we was talking about that? Always check on your happy friend. So now we gotta figure out what subconscious method, you know, and you gotta figure this out for yourself. When you got something that's going on, like say I gotta go to court, or I gotta go to child support court, or I gotta go, you know, to the doctor. They said they found something on me, so I gotta go to the doctor so they can check, or whatever that event. It's a fated event, you know. You can use this, but you wouldn't really want to use this on no petty shit, because then this also represents someone always finding a blemish. This is someone looking in the mirror and they always finding a blemish, you know, on them. They always, oh, I need to go get this nipped and tucked. I need to go get this looked at. I need to go, you know. You don't want to be that type of person. You don't want to be the type of person that's trying to change every single difficult thing in your life, you know, because that's going to make you a soft individual. That's going to make you a soft ass nigga. I felt Oshun saying that, like, yo, don't tell them that they can change everything, because then, you know, you're not going to be that strong man. You're not going to be a strong man that Oshun is going to like. You know, so you got to figure out what method am I going to use so that I can use this principle. What method is going to be my mirror, you know, to be able to do this. Now for me, my method is called, my subconscious method is called Unreal Engine 5. You know, now this Unreal Engine 5, as you see in front of you, this isn't a episode right now. You know, it's not an episode. It's just a program. When you close your eyes, this is what you see. You know, you see darkness. You know, and you gotta program. You know, you gotta program, what is it that I want this to be, you know? So then this is where the enlightenment comes in at, you know? This is where the light, you know, let there be light, you know? This was going to be a part of my Shadow PC lecture that I never came out with, you know? So this right here, I decided to use a medium to where where infinite possibilities can be made possible. You said my mic is acting up? Okay, so this is the method that, because of my job, you know, if you do hoodoo, then your method may be a pot. If you do voodoo, your method may be like a circle, with a symbol in the middle or something. For me, this is my method. This is my method, because when I daydream, I've daydreamed and I've created an event in my mind. And this has happened before. I create an event in my mind to where a situation happens to where I'm able to pay what I need to pay, or I need to do what I need to do. You can do all of this. You can change your fate. You can do all of this in the dream realm. So this is when you're asleep. When you're in the meditative state right before you wake up in the morning, this is something that you can do. So this is the method that I chose, and as you can see in front of you, there's not really too much going on. Now, let's go deeper. The checkerboard floor, when it comes to Hollywood, when it comes to the music industry, the film industry, I hate to break it to y'all, but there's nothing evil about that, because everything started off like this. See, this is nothing but a I want to say it so bad. This is like a Masonic world building simulator. If you're someone who's an animator or a video game programmer, you understand so much about how this world was created, how this world in front of you was created. You understand more about that than you even understand, than you even know. So, this is a boundless plane. This is you in La La Land. So everything that I'm showing you, it takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of different paths. It takes a lot of stuff for you to do all of this. Now it takes, like I said, it takes a lot of energy. If something is really bothering you, if you can take that energy with you to sleep. If it ain't bothering you that bad, you're gonna be forgot about it once you went to sleep. But if it's like, say that it's a working, for my wizards and my my goddesses out there. If it's a working that you're doing, it's something that's important. So you're going to take it with you to sleep. You're going to be thinking about it all the time. That's why for my people out there, and you do magic for other people. You got to be very careful, because you got to be careful that what you're doing to help somebody else, and you're doing a working for them, you got to be careful that you spiritually cleanse yourself, so none of the stuff that you're doing to them, none of that stuff won't bleed off on you. It's kind of like when you cooking raw chicken, you want to wash your hands before you start touching the carrots and the lettuce and stuff like that to make your salad. You want to wash your hands going from touching your raw chicken to your salad. And it's not saying that you're gonna get sick, but it's a very high probability, and you just don't want to go through that. All right. So I put all of my energy into thinking about how I'm going to play out this principle. So now I'm pulling from the quantum to the point where now I've created a world in my mind to where these things that I'm trying to make possible can become possible. So now what you see in front of you, this represents a mindscape. This is a mindscape. You know, there's all sorts of things. There's all sorts of things happening in this mindscape. You know? Now this mindscape, for me, since I'm in my inner child, my mindscape is a magical forest. And since I'm the baby Eshu, in this magical forest, I can recreate certain events that in this 3D realm, it can be very dangerous. But in my mentalscape, in my mindscape, I can create that same event in this particular world, and it's not gonna hurt me. You know, I'm gonna be able to understand what I need to do. I'm gonna be able to change different things, you know, because I know how to go in between worlds, you know. And there's something that I want you all to learn. And this mindscape is a very, look at how beautiful that mindscape is. You know, look at how beautiful that is. You know, I'll be able to make a few different episodes using this mindscape. You know, look at how beautiful that is. Now, what you're seeing in front of you, this is the dreaming. This is like the dream perspective. So what you see in front of you, this is the dream perspective. When you're in a dream realm, everything is colorful. Now, if you're highly advanced, when you're meditating, your mindscape can look like this when you're meditating. You know, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work for you to go into your mind, into your mind's eye, and see this, you know, while you're sitting down in your chair or laying down in the bed. And you look up in your third eye, you look up, you know, to where your eyes are going in the back of your head, and you see this, you know. Now, depending on what you're going through in your life, your mindscape may look totally different. You know, your mindscape may look totally different from this. You know, you may have a different, you know, your mindscape may be a factory, because in your 3D world, in your life in 3D, you feel like everything is hard work. So when you go into your mindscape, because of how you grew up in your childhood and what you was taught about hard work and labor and all of that, your mindscape may be a factory. So it's hard for you to it's hard for you to see that you can make something easily happen if your mindscape is you being in a factory, because that mindscape isn't compatible for easy work. You know, you would have to change your fate, because right now you're on a fated path that you're going to be working hard for the rest of your life. Because when you close your eyes and you go into your dream realm or your meditative state, this is what you see. You know, you see darkness. You know, you see a factory. You see a jail. You know, some people's mentalscapes, mindscapes are very scary, and you see and you wonder why they haven't crashed out as much in their physical reality. You know, if you see what some of these people thinking on the inside every day, you know, it's like, dang, is this what you're thinking of on a regular basis? It's a wonder why you haven't crashed out yet. You know? So this right here, this is like observation mode, so this is observation mode, you being able to this is you just in la la land. Now that's one perspective. You see this right here, it says perspective. So it's different perspectives that your subconscious mind can be in. Now this right here, your subconscious mind is in the forefront. You can see everything. Now when you just going about life, this world is still happening in the background. It just looks like this. You see that dome? You see that dome right there? You see that sacred geometry that's over us? So there are some of us that are living in this world, and we can see this with our eyes. We can see this. You can see this. When you look around in the world, and you see the world, some people, when they look in their third eye, they see this. And if you can see the world like this, you can see spirits. You see that? See that red? You can see spirits. There's a lot of things that you can see. That's, when you're looking at the world, if you're able to look at the world like this, but you can only see the quantum realm like this when you're in this world. That's why the world that we live in now is all about symbols, breaking down symbols, sacred geometry, because this is what the quantum realm looks like. Now, when you get out of this body, the quantum realm starts to look like this again. So now, let's see, does it work? So this, my friends, what you see in front of you right now, this represents lucid dreaming. See, this is me. This is the baby Eshu. He got some powers that I haven't talked about, because in this realm, your inner child has all of these powers that you got to discover. You got to discover this. Now life is a game. Life is a video game now. So this is lucid dreaming. You're able to kind of go through, and you're kind of able to, see what's going on. So in your dream state, this is where, you're able to explore. Look at that. You're able to explore your realm. You created this, and you can go in here and make changes, or, well, you can't make changes, but you can observe, and then you would have to go to an elder, some people, or unless you want to do that work, because everybody got to do it. You got to do that work and understand why all of this stuff is here. You got to understand why it's here. So some of our path, until you understand why your inner world is built like the way it is, and why everything is the way it is, you'll never change the outer world, because it's nothing but a reflection of this, So I just wanted to show y'all that for a second. So now, this what you see under you. This is called a sequence of events that create memories. These are, and when you open your eyes up, So this right here is a sequence of events. Let me go, because I already showed y'all this before. So this represents a sequence of events. You know, only the author, the creator of the scene, only the creator of the scene understands why everything has to be the way it is. You know, so that it can be a beautiful movie. See, when you leave things the way it is, and you just, you know, you search for understanding, you know, when this ends, it's going to be a beautiful movie. You know, when you look back over your life, this is going to be a beautiful movie, a beautiful episode, you know. Now, let's go here. Let me see if I can do this at the same time. So this is the baby Eshu. Now I gotta go. I actually have to run and go to the place. I gotta remember where's the place in my mind that I ended up that this cutscene is gonna happen at. So, because you gotta live, you know, you gotta live. So this represents you just living, and then, you know, you're gonna get to a part in your life. You know, you're gonna get to a part on your journey where something is gonna happen, and I forgot where that's at. So we're gonna do it like this because I don't want to keep y'all. Put a 1 in the chat if y'all like this, you know, because this may be a new way that I start teaching, because I can use this Eshu's world and I can teach a lot. I can do a lot of teaching with this, and make episodes, but I need y'all support to be able to do this. I'm gonna put my donation. I should have did this earlier. That's the Cash App for anybody who want to donate. All right. Okay. Now, when you open your eyes up, so this is, let me show you. Okay. Now look at this. You see all these cameras right here? Everyone's looking at you. You know? So these are all this represent life, all the cameras, all the quote unquote angels, all the angles that are watching you in your waking day. Like, this stuff can be scary to some people. So if it's too scary for you, if this is too scary for you, you can cut off now. But for everybody right now, this is you. This is you. And this is your phone watching you. This is your TV watching you. This is your Bluetooth speaker watching you. And this is your Alexa watching you. You got all of these different machines that we use every day that's watching you. That's one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it is that, you know, this is why you can't judge the process of what you're going through. Because when you open your eyes up, you only going to be able to see things from one angle, from this angle. Hold on. You only gonna be able to see things from this angle. You know, when you wake up and you're in your reality, this cutscene, which represents whatever it is that's gonna happen regardless, you know, you can't change this. You can't change this when you awake. It's just gonna happen. And the only thing that you can do when you're in the dream, in the meditative state, you know, you can exit out of it like this, and you can kind of look around you. You can kind of get a whole 360 view of the situation, but you still can't change it. You still can't change it. You know, this will have to be like a 4 or 5 part series just showing you how to change it, because there's a whole, just like there's a whole different spiritual system teaching you about destiny, there's a whole different spiritual system to teach you about fate, and it's called the occult. You know, and not everybody not everybody in their reality, they're supposed to learn how things work behind the scenes. Not everybody is supposed to know how things work behind the scenes. Not everybody's supposed to know that they can change their reality. You know, some people actually need to go through what they're going through so they can learn. They don't need to learn that there's another way to do it to where you don't got to go, you know. So this is still only for certain people, and I'm only going to be able to show it in one way, because you know, animation and movie making and video game making is extremely occult. Like you like the people that make your favorite animations, make your favorite cartoons, your favorite animes, make your favorite shows on TV, these people are heavy into the occult. These people are heavy into the occult, and they know all of this stuff. You know, it's just somebody like me, you know, I'll take anything and make it spiritual. You know, that's what shows that you're a master at what you came down here to learn. You know, now you can't change this, you know, but you can understand, and you can learn, or you can understand from a different perspective of why everything is everything. You know, because once it gets to this point, so let me show you. So that's the baby Eshu. Like I said, I've been working. I've been doing a lot of work. Look at how good he look. You know, I've been doing a lot of work to make this, you know, look extremely, you know, different from anything else that you probably seen. Now, when you're in meditation, you see this moment. This is like a moment. This is like a moment that can change everything. This is a moment that can change everything. Him seeing something off into the distance, and then this moment right here can change everything. The baby Oshun seeing something in her distance. You know, now the reason why it's dark, because this part, you know, this isn't something that you're supposed to see. In the actual episode, you don't even see her. You don't even see her. So there are certain things when it comes to what you're going through, you just not going to be able to see every single angle of why you need to go through it, or the different paths that you have to change it. You just not going to be able to see it in this 3D the way you're looking at it. You gotta either go into a meditation mode or go into dream mode, and when you go back into that situation that you was pondering over, it's gonna look just like this. It's gonna look like a stage play. It's gonna look like a stage, because the world is a stage. Because don't forget, this is what the world that you live in, this is what the world looks like. Look at them UFOs. Y'all look at them UFOs. Look at the hidden things in the sky. This is what your world really is. This world we living in right now, this is what your world really is. You know? And then when you wake up, you know, that's a bird. You know, those are birds. You know? But in the spiritual realm, this is what they look like. They're pieces of data. Because that's where we're in. a simulation. You know, this is the data. You know, this is the perfect way to explain it. So the main thing that I want to show y'all in this particular build is that life is beautiful. Life is beautiful the way it is, you know, but then since we've been lied to, we have a permission to unlock and see different things that, you know, the only messed up part about it is there's going to be people like the baby boomers, like the older generation, that they're just never going to understand this because this is all they see. You know, this is all they see. They don't have this knowledge where they can, you know, where they can open their mind. This is like opening your mind. And when you open your mind, you know, you able to see different things before it happened. You know, some people, like every car accident, because I've only been in like what, two, maybe three, two. Every accident I had a dream about it, or I had some type of daydream, like I knew it was gonna happen. You know, yo, that looks beautiful. I can't wait till y'all see this episode. And that's the reason why learning what is behind the scenes of this is very secret. Like I didn't even tell y'all. I didn't even fully tell y'all because there's so much. It's so much that you have to learn when it comes to quantum, learning about the quantum. You know, that's a whole college, like a whole college course, you know, about just the quantum reality, you know. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what medium, you know. This can be cooking. I can do this with cooking. Show you how to do the mirror principle with cooking. You know, you know, this is a pot. You know, these are like ingredients. You know, these are like ingredients. You know, all of this, everything is everything. But this right here, you know, you got to go through it. You know, this is what you're going through. You know, and you don't really know how this is going to play out until you wake up and start living. But just know that everything that you go through after that point, you already agreed to it in the quantum. Because if you didn't agree to it, it wouldn't have happened. You know? So this right here that you see, you know, this right here, this is the event of the rent being due. You know, this is the event. This is the event. Hold on, let me go back. So this right here is the event of the rent being due. You know, now you going into the quantum realm, you see that this right here, whatever this situation right here represent, if this situation don't happen, then whatever happens after this is going to be a totally different situation. You you know, because you can't destroy. So, you know, it's gonna happen. You know, you're gonna have to pay it some kind of way, you know. But if you're able to go into your meditation mode or go into dream mode, pull up this situation, and then and you can zoom out and you can see this, like, oh wait, if I just, you know, if I X that out, then I'm not gonna have to go through it. You know, I'm able to you know, change my fate a little bit. You know, I'm able to change my destiny a little bit. You know? Now, the only thing about that, the reason why you're not taught how to change your fate, because look at the baby Eshu. You're like, let's go. Because now, if you exit that out, then there's going to be certain things about your experience that's no longer going to make sense anymore. So now you're going throughout life and this event happens, but then, you know, this person isn't here anymore. So now, oh Lord, I can't really show you because this is sealed. Like when you do it like this, your fate is sealed. You can't change it. What I'm just kind of showing you, like there's going to be different things that happen where that's not going to be there, and it's going to mess up the whole experience. So you got to be able to replace that with something. And again, this is highly occult knowledge. The powers that be try to do this. They try to replace things with other things. They try to, you know, take people out and replace them spiritually, do all this stuff. But the reason why they glitch out on camera, they glitch out on camera because it's just what wasn't what it was meant to do. It's like every time I try to turn that off, it's gonna come back. When the universe resets itself, the baby Oshun is gonna come back. You could try to delete it all you want to. And I feel like this is what the powers that be are trying to do. They're trying to mess with time. They're trying to mess with time and they're trying to freeze it because they know that when time resets itself, everything is going to go back to the way it was supposed to be. You know? So I guess what this mirror principle video was about, it's more about how to gain a full understanding about what you go through. You know, how to gain a full understanding about what you're going through. Now, if you want to change what you're going through, it's a process, because first you got to understand why you chose to go through it. And then you have to understand that if this is something that you were meant to go through, then you're going to have to go through it in some way or another. So let's just say, you know, just throwing it out there, there was a fated event. There was a deep conversation that you were supposed to have with your grandchild. And this was supposed to be like one of the highlight conversations of your whole life. But in order for you to have that particular conversation, your mom has to pass away or something like that. You know, and this is something that, you know, you love your mom. So it's like you seeing this happen. You seeing this happen, you know, and you're at this part. your life is at this part. You don't see everything down here, so you don't know how this is gonna work out. You just see this part. you know you are the god, you are the goddess. If you learn it, you can do it. You can change it, but then you got to understand something of equal value has to go in its place. So doing this magic, trying to change your fate, and so your mom ends up living. Your mom ends up being alive, but now that granddaughter was like a miracle child and all of that, and that granddaughter has to go. Like something has to and this is the part that I'm talking about, that kind of bleeds over into what the powers that be are doing, what y'all have been hearing in that realm, because you can't cheat it. You can't cheat it. Now, this particular principle, y'all are gonna learn what that principle is when this episode comes out. Y'all see how good it look. And I'm almost done. I'm like 95% done with this part, and then I got to go into production. This ain't even the cinematic version, but you can already see how it looks. You already see. It already looks amazing. I've been working on the filters and different reflections. I've been working on a lot with this episode. I can't wait till y'all see it. But yeah, so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, ending it with the baby Oshun, because this is the mirror principle. How you can use your inner world to understand your outer world more, because once you're in it, I can't change this. I can't change it. I can't even. The only thing I can do is push play. That's all I can do is push play. I can't really change it from here. It's only until I can figure out a different mode where I can zoom out and I can look into my mindscape. Like, okay, this is my mental scape. This is my mindscape. Why did I create this for myself? Why is this my mental scape? Why did I create this for myself? See me, my inner child is always in a magical forest. So anything that comes into this mental scape that is scary, I have everything in my mental scape that can solve it. But what about you? Is your mental scape something that's going to make you have a nightmare when you go into it? Because this is the only way. This is the only way that you can actively change different aspects of your reality. There's many different ways to skin a cat. This is just one way. Being the baby Eshu, he's always trying to find simpler ways to do complex things. So every time I find a different mode on my path to teach all this stuff, I'm gonna do it. And if y'all can heed that message, my friends, you'll be glad that you did. So what y'all think about that? What y'all think about that mode of teaching? What y'all think about this mode of teaching? Because there's a lot of things that I can take this Eshu's world, take this Unreal Engine 5 and really like teach all about some spiritual things. So maybe I'll put like a poll or something. Maybe I'll put like a poll up and see what y'all think. What y'all think about this type of teaching. And I'm gonna go throughout this live stream, and I'm gonna go and take some of this space out. So y'all listening to it on the playback, you're gonna get way more streamlined experience. My website is back online. I'm still going through a lot of changes, website changes, a lot of different changes. I'm still working on this episode, and since I've been putting more energy into it, it's taking me a lot longer, and it's very expensive. Like the filter alone, the cartoon filter that you all saw was like $149. But you see how much better it makes them look, you know? Like you can see just by it, just this screenshot alone, just this still alone. Hold on. Let me see. Can I make this bigger? Just this still shot alone, it lets you know what you all are gonna be in store. Like I'm not playing, you know. I'm putting a lot into making this animation look good, and I want to be able to, you know, tell a different Orisha story. You know, a story that's been told before, but you know, I just want to tell it in my way, from the baby Eshu's point of view. Because what I'm seeing is that, you know, the baby Eshu, he see things way differently than everybody else, and he gives a lot of people credit that you probably won't hear about. So there's gonna be some Orishas in this series that not all of them you're gonna be, you know, not all of them you're gonna have a huge knowledge of. You know, I appreciate that, Stacy, and I want to let you all know, I give readings. I never stopped. My website was just down, so if you all want to get a reading from me, it's www.bandclaptv.com, and I got on point Orisha Tarot. I got the natal chart where I break down your natal chart, all of those. So I'm gonna just put that back on there. bandclaptv.com. So y'all check that out. And until next time, peace.